This is basically part 2. The first video I made was how to support roofs with vaulted ceilings. This one is going to be how to support walls with ceiling joist and conventionally framed roof rafters. Let's just go ahead and whip around the project to give you an idea of how the ceiling joists actually, they sit on the load-bearing walls and connect to the roof rafters. And I will put a link at the end of the video to the first video. I would suggest watching that to get a better idea. You might find something in there, even though the videos will be similar. This is the best method I would use for repairing an exterior wall with rafters and ceiling joist. And this is actually, I went through this in the first video. You might be able to get some more tips in that. Make sure that you use a board that is going to support the load here. Make sure that the ground is as level as it can possibly be. You might want to go with a larger board, 4x10, something like that, so it doesn't move as much. There could be a lot of weight placed in this area, and if you use like a 2x4 and there's a little divot here in the ground, it could actually cause problems when the wall sags when you're putting it back together. This first way to attach the wall stud, you could have a supporting stud underneath the roof rafter, and then one that nails to the rafter or screws to the rafter, and then of course you would screw these together. And the supporting stud on the other side is going to go underneath the rafter. Another thing you can use would be to cut a strip of plywood or OSB, something, a 1x4, and then use screws or nails to attach into the rafter and into the stud to keep it connected together. Another thing you could use is a piece of building hardware, a strap, something like that to make the connection. I definitely recommend using something to keep this thing from coming apart and make sure that it's securely fastened. I mean, I've done stuff like this before where I just put one nail in the 2x4, but you know, I'm comfortable with what I'm doing, and I don't recommend that if you don't really don't know a lot about house framing. I would make sure that you firmly connect everything. It's not uncommon to have the building lift up. I've actually had that happen. I've had it lift up, the wall stud falls down, and now I don't have anything supporting it. I'm in a hurry to get the wall stud back connected in case something else happens, and not the best thing. So make sure they're attached securely. I wanted to zoom in on this and show you how most ceiling joists attach to a roof rafter. Usually we have 6 nails. This would be a 2x6 in this example with a 2x8 roof rafter. And 6 nails is usually what it's used to connect to the rafter. Now the reason why I'm pointing this out is because if you build a wall on the exterior, you're going to be supporting the roof rafters. You might not be supporting the ceiling joist enough. So if it's nailed and you're comfortable with how the ceiling joist is attached to the roof rafter, and you don't have a really long span here. What would be a long span? I can't give you a number on that because you could have 2x12 rafters and 2x10 ceiling joists. It's going to be a lot more at stake here. If you had a 2x4 ceiling joist and a 2x6 rafter, you might only need 4 nails to support something like this, and you're not going to have a problem with it. The heavier the lumber, the bigger the problem could be. So this is a fantastic way to support the roof rafters and the ceiling joist if you're comfortable with the way the ceiling joists are attached to the roof rafters. If at all they are. If the ceiling joists are not attached to the roof rafters and just sitting on top of the top plates, then you're going to have the rafter. Only thing, you're going to have the toenails that are in the roof rafter. You're going to have whatever nails they have driven into the roof rafter itself. Let me see if I can get back in here. Any nails that they've driven into here. and into the top plates. This is what's going to be used to support the ceiling joist, and I wouldn't be comfortable with that. I would build a wall on the inside. Here's an example of the wall that I am talking about, and if you need two walls, you need one wall on each side because you have an existing wall in the way, then that would be fine. Put the walls in there. Remember, the walls are supporting the ceiling joist, and sometimes they will not be supporting the rafters. And this method right here will work fine if you have drywall or plastered ceiling. You can just build the wall underneath the drywall, and that should be good enough to support the ceiling joist. However, that might not support the roof rafters. If you cannot build a wall on the outside, and all you have a choice is to build the wall on the inside, then you're going to need to install something in between the rafters and the ceiling joist, some type of a beam, or you could stack up some 2x6s or 2x4s, and then of course make sure that they are firmly attached to the roof rafter. One more thing I'd like to point out is that let me see if I can pan out a little more. If something you should take into consideration is the cantilever formula for most homes. It's 1/3. A roof rafter usually cannot exceed a support with more than 1/3 of the rafter length protruding out past it. If you're going to remove sections of the wall, then it's not going to be supported by this wall anymore. And if you can't use a wall on the outside, you're going to be totally relying on a wall on the inside. Another thing you might want to consider is to not position the wall, or avoid positioning the wall any further than 1/3 back from the roof rafter. So let's say that the roof rafter is 12 feet. If we divided that into thirds, we would have 4 feet sections. You would not want the wall and the support system to be any further back than 4 feet, because otherwise you could end up with a problem. If you had a heavy roof, it could actually break or something like that. So I'm not saying it would, but who knows? And again, I'd like to point out, these are just examples. They might not work under on every project. And if you don't feel comfortable doing something like this, or this stuff doesn't make sense, leave it to the professionals. This is considered a major home repair, and might not fit into every do-it-yourselfer's ability to do it. I mean, the last thing you want to do is have a section of the house cave in and someone gets hurt. So if you're not comfortable with it, then, like I said, leave this type of repair to a professional. And I will put a link here at the end to the first video. I would suggest watching that also. You never know what you're going to learn or what you can use. I've said it before, I'll say it again. Sometimes you're going to need to use a few of the ideas that I have presented in here to actually complete your type of project.